Tell me about just the difference and the change that we have seen in the business, because I think in the past it really was the big two, I guess, Manchester United, Arsenal, that really dominated the game. And now, just judging by the lineup that you have here this weekend, you have a lot more competition, more clubs rising in the ranks. How has that made the league more attractive and marketable?
Well, well, thank you for your welcome, first of all. It's always great to be in Hong Kong, and we always get this great welcome from everybody, particularly the fan base, when we come. Yes, it has changed enormously, and you think about the phases of the Premier League when it started in 1992. Yeah, we did go through, and I've presided over a time when there were only kind of one or two clubs that would have been recognised internationally. But such has been the explosion and the expansion of coverage. Of course, it's a game that's played in England, but it's visualised, throughout the world, and therefore what's happened is, as more and more coverage, more and more involvement, fans have become very, very accustomed to all the other teams as well. And it's the knowledge base, that's the big difference, particularly in Asia, where the fans are so knowledgeable and they recognise all these other teams, and therefore bringing more and more teams is so much more attractive. How
fast is Asia growing? Is it still an important market to you?
Yeah, of course it's growing. It's growing in audience terms, because again we're going into this new phase of kind of expansion, aren't we? We've gone through, obviously we had the broadcast phase, and now we're into this new digital phase, social media phase, where there's just constant content, and it's not just about the live matches, it's everything that goes on around the live matches, and ever more increasingly young people are engaging with the Premier League in more expansive ways.
Yeah, and even especially so in China as well, and we know the president, of course, Xi Jinping, probably one of the biggest fans of the sport. He himself wants to create this Chinese dream of the country being a great football power, and this Chinese Super League as well. Is that a big threat to you, Richard?
No, not at all. It's fantastic. It's admirable. I mean, who wouldn't want their president or their premier to suddenly turn around and say, "Football's we want to be great at football"? I don't think there's any other country who's made that quite a statement. Other world leaders have said we want to host the World Cup, or we want to do this, or we want to do the other. But to actually make that statement is fantastic, because our view is this: as long as the business of football grows, the exposure of football grows, football as a game grows, we're very confident in our own skin. We will be able to, withstand any form of competition around the world.
But they are attracting some of the top talent out of Europe as well.
Of course, and that's absolutely fine. But that's always been the case. No league has the right, and we couldn't be sitting here, could we? After 25 years, saying, well, we're the only league that's allowed to use this model that is called, basically a free market model that says those who want to pay the wages and those who want to pay the fees attract the talent. It would be very wrong. So no, we don't feel it's a threat. It's actually good. It keeps everybody on their game. It keeps us needing to strive forward. There's no complacency. But yeah, I think we're a long way off, I think, being eclipsed necessarily by other leagues, but we're looking forward to seeing them grow.
Richard, of course, there is the issue of Brexit as well, and you, of course, have been very vocal about the issue. You've been a supporter of the Remain camp ahead of this Brexit vote. How big of a risk, or does it pose an impact at all in the English Premier League?
I don't think it's a risk at all, and I think people maybe misunderstood our reasons for positioning the way we did. I mean, it's a year ago now; it's history. It doesn't matter whether.
So the fears have receded a bit?
No, it wasn't a fear. It was a more principled position than it was a fear of what might happen. At the end of the day, if you're a global league and you're doing business throughout the world and you have a global view, it just seemed kind of politically odd to suddenly make out that Britain was going to go away and almost isolate back into itself. It wasn't that. We will sort out the issues regarding immigration in terms of players and talent. That'll not be a problem. And the commercial issues around intellectual property and the other business impacts, they were complicated before Brexit, and they'll be complicated after. So we don't fear for the business. It was just more how, being a sort of a global player, a global citizen, it looks, in terms of the outcome.
In terms of transfers, though, I mean, that could be a potential issue, because a lot of the players in the clubs like Chelsea, like Manchester United, are from Europe as well. So, whether the UK leaves the EU or not, is that going to pose a big risk when it comes to transfers or attracting that kind of talent into the English Premier League?
It can't be a big risk. At the end of the day, the British government is going to have to come up with a system of allowing talent to come into the UK for all sorts of industries, and we won't be at the top of that list when the government looks at science, when it looks at medicine, when it looks at all these industries where they will want to attract professors into their universities. They will want the world's talent to still come to the UK. They'll have to work out a system. We'll be somewhere in that list. Don't know where in that list, but I don't think we'll have a problem getting our 25 person squads filled with the world's best talent.
foreign ownership as well. We see that growing when it comes to China and some of these teams as well. The U.S. and the Americans owning Manchester United. Are we likely to see more of these deals on the horizon?
I have no view. I mean, there might be more English owners suddenly decide to come buy a club. At the end of the day, we don't really have a particular view on that. All we know is we want the owners to come in, pass our quite rigorous owners and directors tests. If they do that, and they've got the capital and they've got the money, they can run the clubs properly. It's about, you know, coming in and being part of a club, behaving properly, you know, being good citizens in the Premier League world. We don't have a view really as to what nationality they might be.
Richard, one last question before I let you go. Of course, it's always good to have an Asian representation in the league as well to attract more eyeballs and more of the hype here in Asia. And we haven't seen too many rising stars. Are you seeing any potential players on your radar?
No, because we don't really do this. I mean, that's a club view. Remember, I've got 20 clubs out there, all of them with some sort of global scouting network. They will be out there looking. We take all these things as a consequence. You know, I can tell you we've got 69 different nationalities played in the league last year. Next year it might be 71, it might be 65. We count that and we're interested in it, but there's no strategy from the Premier League as to how that works. That's very much in the basis of the clubs. The clubs will have their own scouting networks. If the players are good enough, believe you me, I know these clubs, they'll want them there, but their nationality will be irrelevant.
Who's going to take the tournament and the trophy behind you here this weekend?
Who knows? I mean, I suppose the fan base, looking at who's got the tickets and who's got the shirts, would love Liverpool to win it. But it's a football match, and as we know in football, pretty much anything can happen. That's the whole essence of the Premier League.